Hello, hi guys. Today I'm going to show you how to create a BMI calculator. The end result of this app will be look like this. So you select your gender, you put your height, weight, and whatever your age is, and you press calculate, and it will show your BMI. So it will show you a normal, underweight or overweight, what is your BMI, and a bit of description as well. So let's create this beautiful app, and in the first step we will going to design this page. All right, so once you're ready, open Android Studio, start a new Flutter project, Flutter application, name your application. I just give it name BMI. You can give any name, press next and finish. Right, so once the project is loaded, you will have this kind of main file, and if you run the app, you will see the result like this. But for the demonstration of this video, I will remove all the code except for the first two lines, and I'm going to create my own stateless widget and my app. And whenever you have a red arrow, you just press tab and it will automatically fix for you. And instead of returning container, I'm going to return material lab has data. And first we want to define primary color, and we want our primary color to be this one, the black one. I will provide the colors in the description, but if you want to know how to capture the color from any picture, there is a cool tool that is called Colorzilla. You just install this extension to your browser and you will have this type. So you press that, you press page color picker, and it will pick the color from you. We want to select this one. Okay, so it will select the, you copy that color and go to color integer value 0 0 and whatever you have copied from there. Okay, so it's a pretty much dark black, and same color we want to use for the scaffold background color. And material app has home property, and I'm going to use home screen, home page class. So at the moment we don't have a home page class. I'm going to create a new dot file. I'm going to give this name home screen. Okay, import material, and here I'm going to create stateful widget. Later on you will learn why I use here stateful widget. So I give this class the same name, page. And if you find error like this in Android Studio, you just press tab and it will fix the error for you. And here, instead of returning container, I'm going to return scaffold, because scaffold has a app bar widget. Text. Here we want the title of our app is calculate your BMI. Alright, so until now we don't do anything. We just have a stateless widget class my app, and that is giving a still error. To remove this error, we need to import home screen.dart, and the error will go. So we have a stateless widget that has a material app. Material app has a theme, and this main.dart we only use for theming, and I will use the new home screen for defining all our logic. In home page class, I have created a scaffold. A scaffold have an app bar that is calculate your BMI. And if I press Ctrl S now, so now you can see we have pretty much the same background that we want to achieve. So we have an app bar. Now next step is we want to have this copy this skeleton. So what we do, we're going to make skeleton like this first, and then we will fill the other thing. So to make this skeleton further, go into and in scaffold there is another property called body, and define safe area. It's a best practice. Even if you don't define, that's all right, but I prefer. And we want a column because we want to replicate this type of design. So one column has 3 rows. All right, and if you want to format your code, just press right click, reformat code with dot, and it will automatically format a code that is more readable. A column should have a children. The first children is a row. Row again has children, list of children. Okay. To replicate this kind of thing, we need a container. We need to define a container. Let's put some height, 180 pixel, width 180 pixel, and define the color of the container. So we want to copy this color. All right. Color again 0 F. And if I save now, you can see we have a container, but the problem is the container that we want should be seen a bit away. So let's add some margin. We want to margin from every side, so edge insects all, and let's add the margin of 15 pixel, and if we press now, so it's pretty much look like the same that we want to replicate this. So pretty much we have the same now, but the only problem is you can see we need a rounded corner, and here we have a rounded corner, and here we have a square type of corner. To add this rounded edge, let's come into container, add a decoration property, box decoration, and inside a box decoration we are going to define border radius dot circular, and it expected a double value, so add a 15. And as soon as I'm going to save the app, you will see the app will crash. It is because whenever inside a container you have a box decoration, the color property should be inside the decoration. All right, and so now we have a pretty much our one column is ready. So to achieve the remaining functionality, I'm doing a bit fast forward coding because now I think I have covered the basic of all. So get rid of this manual height and width, and instead of that we are going to wrap our row with expanded widget, and it will take all the available space. And similarly, the child of that row also wrap with expanded widget so that this child can take up all the space. Similarly, we need two more rows. So here you copy, and we need, so we have now three expanded widget with pretty much similar type of code. And if we save now, you can see we have three three rows, and each row is containing at the moment one column, and they are taking pretty much all the space. But for the first row and the second row, we want to have two children in this row. So in the first expanded widget, inside a children where it is expanded, copy from here to this expanded, okay, and paste again. Alright, so inside a row, in first row, we have now two expanded widgets containing two containers. So if we save now, you can see that's pretty much that we want. And similarly, we want in a last row. So in a last row, if you go to after this expanded widget, another children of the row. Alright, and if we save, so that's pretty much the functionality that we want. Only thing we need a bottom container. To add this bottom button, we simply go in our column area before after the expanded widget, before the widget tree of this column finish, add a container, and this container we want to have a specific height, so for example 75 pixel, and we want a width to capture the whole area, and the best way is to define by double dot infinity, and we want a color of this container. I already copied the color, and we want a margin from the top, so edge insets dot only. We want the top margin, just this time like approximately 18 pixel is enough. And if I save it now, you can see we now have pretty much what we really want. But if I come into my code, you can see in all our expanded widget we have a same child, like 5 times the same container, that is pretty much similar. And to make our code more reusable or readable, we know this container is replicating, so we select this container, right click, go to refactor, go to extract Flutter widget, and give our widget any name. So I'm going to give it reusable container. You can give any name, and instead of having all these container, we just simply copy and paste this reusable container. Similarly, in the second, we replace this in all the 5 places, and if we save, we can see the result is still same, but we have drastically reduced the number of lines of code, and Flutter has automatically created this reusable container widget at the end of your class. And this class is much more easy to change. For example, if we want to change anything, we don't need to be worried about to make changes in all these sections. We only come here and change whatever we want to change. And if we come to here, I just remove this one, this constructor. We don't want this one. I will define my own constructor. And if we go into final result, and in our app we can see all the container, few container we want red and few container we want a different color. Like in the start, these two color are different, and this one we want a red one. So instead of having this one, we define getting the color every time the same color will make our own color. So we define our own constructor, reusable container, at the rate of required make. So what we want, we define our color. So basically color, and give any name, make it final, so it becomes immutable. Final color, I give container color, color. You can give any name, whatever you want. Okay, so this dot container color. All right, and instead of passing this color every time, the default color, we here put our variable color, color. So every time we create our widget, like reusable widget, we pass the color. So our in first to container color, we want this color. All right, and from third widget, like from this widget, this reusable widget, we want container color, and we want this color, the right one that we have in our container. So copy that color and paste here. Similarly, in the color, paste this one. Paste this one. So that's pretty much the skeleton what we really want in our app. The next step is, now we want to copy or replicate this design in our cards. To do that, we need to make our custom card accepting mode as a widget. So first, go into our reusable container. Now we're going to add a final property, and it's a widget, and we want to add custom child. All right, for the first two elements we want this, so in our constructor we don't need to define this as a required. So this time we only say this dot custom child, and this custom child we want as a child of our container. So custom child. So now this custom child is available in our reusable container. So if we go here, custom child, and here we want a column because in our design we need to replicate two things that are vertically. So the column is the best bet. We want an icon and a text widget. So column should have a children list of children, like two children, and this icon is available in font awesome. So go to the dot packages, search font awesome flutter packages, and go to installation, get the dependency, copy, go to your pops.yaml file, popspecs.yaml, and under Cupertino I can paste that and popcat. So here's a one tip: every time when you add a new package, it's better to stop and rerun the app. Alright, so import font awesome flutter.dart, and inside our column we want first widget to be an icon, and this icon will come from font awesome icon dot Mars, and I want to increase the size of the icon to probably around 75 pixels, and we want a space between icon and text, so sized box is the best way to create a space. Let's put height of 12 pixel, and the last widget that we want is a text widget, and this will contain the text of like male, and we want to style this style font size probably 18 pixel, and if I save it now, you can see pretty much we have everything except for that. We want the icon color and the mail color to be a bit white. So if we go into our main dot where we do all the theming, instead of having theme dot data, we can have a dark theme. All right, and that dark theme we can copy with. So instead of just theme data, now we can have a dark theme with all the dark feature of the dark theme, and we copy with our primary color and scaffold color. So if I save now, you can see they're coming to the white color that we want, but they are a bit all over the place, and we want them to be at the center of the column. So if we go into our column, main axis alignment, make it centers, main axis alignment dot center, and if I save now, you can see that's pretty much the way we want it to be have. And the same custom child we need for our female reusable container. So if we go into our female reusable container, we just copy this custom child, and paste it here. And instead of the icon, mouse icon, we need a penis icon that is for females, and in text instead of male we need female. Alright, and if I save it now, you can see we have pretty much what we really want. And next we want to change the color on the basis of when we select male or female. For example, if someone select male, the color should be active card color like red. To achieve this, let's create some of the cons so they are easy to handle. Let's go at really top, define our const, keep the name like active color, and what we want, the active color should be this red one. We want inactive color as well, const color, and that color that we want inactive is this black one. And let's create a color variable for female content, and the default one we want this one to be k.inactive color, so this color. And similarly for the male container, the default we want inactive, so whenever we start the app it starts with the inactive color. And let's replace our active and inactive color. So here I want inactive color, so instead of this color we can simply define k inactive color, k inactive color, and rest of we want active color. Yeah, and the code is much more easy to use, so we don't have to be change everywhere. Whenever if we want to change the color, we just simply change the color in our const and it will become automatically changed. So that's pretty much done. So now the next step we want, so whenever we press on this one the color become bright. All right, so we want the whole container to be clickable. So there are two options we can do right on pressed, gesture detector. I'm using gesture detector because that is the best one for this one. So first define a widget final function. So it's basically a function. Then give it name like OTP. You can give any name, but I'm just using. And we don't want this to be a mandatory. We want only for few of our container. Okay, so we don't need required element. And we at which level we want at container level. So we go into container, you click and you see this type of arrow, press it and wrap with widget. Which widget? Gesture detector. All right, so gesture detector has a on tab function similar to like on pressed, and we pass this OTP, whatever our OTP. And let's create an enum to keep track the value, like which the card we are on, to create our logic. So enum are easy to utilize, so we want male and female. Enum are already created like this, and let's define our default enum value like gender. Gender is our enum. Give a variable like selected gender, and don't start with anyone because we, on the basis of which enum we are variable we are, we change the color of the card. So we want to tackle the first two card of our reusable container. So you know we already created OTP and OTP is available now. OTP is a function is already defined like this, and inside this function we want to set state, and we want to set our selected gender equals to, the first one will be gender.male because in the first card we have a gender male. All right, and if selected gender is gender.male, what we want our color, instead of inactive color we want selected gender equals, it's a two-time equals, if gender dot male is true. Here I'm using ternary operator. Ternary operator syntax is you put a variable equals to, you check the condition is true, then what we want k dot active color, but if condition is false we want inactive color. So instead of using if else, this is a ternary operator in Dart. Very easy. First thing is you check the condition. Okay, so selected gender is true, we want this color to be active card color, and or if it's false we want inactive card color. All right, similarly go into female container. Now what we do, we create our OTP. OTP is a function. All right, so we want to set state, and we want to select it gender. Here what we want to set gender dot female, and the color here we do a bit opposite. Okay, so what we want, selected gender, want to check equals to gender dot female. If the condition is true, what we want, k dot active color. If it's false we want inactive color. So this is a pretty simple logic for this one. If condition is female card condition is true, we want active color, otherwise we want inactive color. And so as soon as I save it, and if we see now our output, you can see we click, the color get changed, so it become active card, whichever color we want. So the next step that we want to make this slider. So we need the column is a best bet because we need select height, this number, and a slider. So inside a column we want a text widget, then a row widget that contain two text widget, and finally we want a slider. So to start designing, let's create few of the constant. For all the label text, it should be the text style, and font size that we want is 18, and one more constant for numbers, all the numbers that we have. Text style, and everyone font size to be 45, and font weight both. All right, let's now create a height variable. If size it 870, and now replace our constant instead of this style. Label text, and here also label text. And inside our top reusable container we have a custom child. Let's create a column, and making main axis alignment to the centers, and the first widget is text. with label text. We want a row. We'll have a list of children. So inside our row we want to pass our height and another text widget containing CM. So this height we have already created enough, but the height that we created are integer, but we want to pass to text widget, so we need to create two string and the style that we want label text. Okay, numbers, and for CM we want style label text. Okay, but as soon as I save it, you can see we have whatever we want, right? That this row need to be center and the CM need to be big base like this. All right, to achieve this we go into main axis alignment of our row to be center and cross axis alignment should be baseline. Press baseline, cross axis alignment baseline, and baseline text baseline we want text baseline dot alphabetic. So cross axis alignment we want to be the baseline of our row, and that text baseline should be the alphabetic. And if I save it now, you can see now pretty much that we whatever we want to achieve. The next thing that now we want, let's add a slider right after where our row is closed. So slider wants to have a height, but it is expected into a double, so we have to convert our integer variable into double, and let's commas format code with dot format, and let's add minimum height should be 120 and maximum height should be 220, because I don't think so someone will be tall. 220 cm tall. On change is basically a function, and that function have a variable, let's call it change height, and call set state because we want to set our value, which value we want to set our height on the basis of this change. So what we want, our change height dot, we don't want should be 120.5 or something, we want a round value. All right, so the new height should be a rounded height. And if I save it now, we can see that we have pretty much whatever we want, except for the our slider is working absolutely fine, the functionality is all right, but we want our thumb color and thumb is a bit bigger, and thumb color we want a black, active track color we want a green, and inactive track color we want a yellow. So to achieve this, let's go to our program, and where we have a slider, just click on the slider. You see this type of sign, you wrap with widget. The widget wants slider theme. All right, so a slider theme, inside a slider theme we have a data property, and that data property was slider theme dot of context, which context, the current context we want, dot copy with. So what we want to copy with, we want this slider theme to be copied, and we want to change our thumb shape and thumb color. So there's a thumb shape, we want it to be a round slider thumb shape, and we want enabled thumb radius, and if you go uh, on this one and you press Ctrl Q, you can see the default value is 10, but we want a bit bigger our thumb, so let's make it to 16, and we want our thumb color to be the our k dot inactive color. And if I save it now, you can see that we have changed our thumb color, but now you recognize that overlay color and overlay shape is not really big. So let's create our overlay shape. We want round slider, overlay shape, overlay radius 132. Let's keep our active graph color to colors dot white and inactive graph colors dot green. And if I save it now, you can see we have pretty much whatever we want, except that I just changed active graph color from green to white and inactive graph color from yellow to green. You can keep whatever color you like. Alright, the next step is we want a weight, number, and a 2 button. So column is best bet, and we need 2 text widgets inside our column and our row. Create first 2 variable for weight, and initialize it with 60 kg, and age, I think 25 is enough for age. And let's go to our second last expanded widget, and here we're going to create custom child column from children, and make our main axis align center. The first children is text widget. We want to label it, and we want to style it using keyword label text. Let's create another text widget, and this widget will be to string as we want, and the style keyword number text. And finally we need a row to display these 2 buttons. Alright, so if we can use the floating action button, but if we go into documentation, the Flutter team has described that it is better to use one floating action button per your app or per page. So instead of using floating action button, I'm going to create my own customized button, so you can also learn how to create your own customized widgets right from the beginning as before. So let's, yeah. So we need 2 buttons, the children, list of children. Let's name it button plus minus, and this the first widget. So let's first create this widget. So you press STLS, it will automatically define and name the same. So we have a name button plus minus, and instead of running container, we are going to run raw material button. Yeah, and on first, let's put a comma and we'll form it with dot format coding, and fill color dot inactive color, and let's create constraint box constraint dot type for, and And if I save it now, you can see the result. So pretty much whatever we want we have, except for the thing that we want a bit of rounded corner and we want them to be a center. Okay, to make the corner a bit rounded, let's change the shape. Control, reduce, radius, circular, and it has a double value. So let's provide 6.0 value. And if I save it now, you can see we have the rounded corner. And let's create another one. And let's create a bit of space in between. So sized box, and we want width up 10 pixels. And one more thing was make main axis alignment with center. If I save it now, you can see we have pretty much similar the design that we want in our final app. And let's create that icon and the functionality for these icons. So to do that, we have to go into our class of button plus minus, and we need to create a constructor that is plus minus. And let's create first few variable like final, and we want icon data. That's the return type for icon, and let's give it button icon, and create another final variable that we want a function. Its return type is function because we want to create an on pressed. Let's give it name. Keep the same on pressed. Alright, let's initialize. So this dot button icon and this dot on pressed. Alright, so let's pass on press to on press, and icon we want a child of our button. So let's create a child icon, and the data is button icon, and go into our plus and minus button, and now the button icon will be the font awesome icon dot minus, and on press function will be set state, and we say weight minus minus. And similarly in our plus button and second plus minus button, we want our button icon to be the plus, so icon dot plus, and our on press function should be set state. And what we want our weight to be get added. And if I save it now, you can see we have pretty much the functionality that we want. Similarly, exactly everything same will be for our age section. Alright, so I'm going to copy the same code starting from custom child. Let's copy this one, and in our next container I'm going to paste it. Alright, and in this custom child, instead of we're going to say page and age dot to string, and instead of weight we say age minus minus and age plus plus. And as soon as I save it, you can see we have pretty much everything working properly, except that we need a text widget showing calculate results here. So go to our container, put a child, and we want a text widget showing calculate result, and we want to style it. Use text style and font size 25. Yeah. And I want our text to go to the center, so wrap it with the center widget. And if I save it now, you can see now we have pretty much the whole page that what we want to design. And in the next video I will show you how you can design the result page and how we can calculate all the logic. So once we press calculate result, all the logic based on your weight and height, you will get your BMI results. So watch